The Dark Elves Chosen by Celeste King. Episode 4. If you don't want the story to stop and can't wait till the next episode comes to YouTube, you can buy the ebooks from worldsofprotheka.com. If you like the episode but wish that you had the steamy scenes too, you can get that from worldsofprotheka.com as well. Use discount code YouTube30 to get 30% off all digital products.
Chapter 31. Savannah, I think we've finally lost them. My chest heaves as I struggle to catch my breath, leaning against a tree for support. The Orcs have been relentless in their pursuit, but the forest is quiet now. Julius stands before me, his face etched with concern. "Are you all right?" he asks, his eyes scanning our surroundings for any signs of danger. "Just tired," I whisper, trying to ignore the ache in my muscles and the pounding in my head. "I think we're safe now." No sooner do the words leave my mouth than two monstrous berserker orcs drop from the trees above us, snarling and brandishing wicked, serrated blades. "Fuck!" Julius's eyes widen in alarm, and he grabs my hand, yanking me away from the tree. "Run!" he shouts, pulling me along as we sprint through the dense underbrush. My heart races, adrenaline pumping through my veins, fueling our desperate flight. Julius's grip on my hand is like iron, reminding me he's determined not to let anything happen to me. His jaw is set, and there's a fierce protectiveness in his eyes that only amplifies my determination to survive. We surge forward, branches whipping against our faces and tearing at our clothes. "Stay close, Savannah," Julius commands, never taking his eyes off the path ahead. "I won't let them harm you." I know Julius will do whatever it takes to keep me safe, and his unyielding resolve fills me with a strength I didn't know I had. No matter how often I stumble or falter, he's there to steady me, urging me onward. Despite the overwhelming fear that threatens to consume me, I can't help but feel safer knowing Julius is by my side. "Julius," I gasp between ragged breaths. "We can't outrun them forever." His eyes dart around, searching for an escape route or hiding place. "I know," he says, his voice strained but determined. "I'll think of something. Just trust me." The snarling roars of the two berserker orcs echo through the trees, sending chills down my spine. I can almost feel their hot, rancid breath on the back of my neck as they relentlessly pursue us. "They're gaining on us," Julius pants, his eyes darting around our surroundings as we weave through the dense forest. "We need to slow them down." "Can't we climb a tree or something?" I suggest, my voice shaking with fear. "Those bastards are incredible climbers," Julius replies grimly. "We'd be easy prey once they realise we're up there." Our desperate flight continues. It's clear that these monsters won't stop until they've torn us limb from limb, and the thought of what will happen if they catch us. I try not to think about it as we run. "Julius," I say, gasping for breath as my legs grow heavier with each step. "I don't know how much longer I can do this." "Stay with me, Savannah," he urges, his voice tight but steady as he grips my hand. Through the pounding in my ears and the burning in my lungs, I cling to his words like a lifeline, using them as motivation to keep moving forward. Julius's unfaltering resolve strengthens me, and I silently vow not to let him down. "Watch out!" Julius suddenly shouts, yanking me to one side as a massive orcish fist crashes through the foliage, narrowly missing my face. Julius smashes his fist square on the orc's face, throwing him off balance. We have mere seconds before he recovers. "Julius, we have to do something," I cry, panic rising within me as the orcs continue to bear down on us. I can't run anymore. With that, Julius lifts me in his arms, throws me onto his back, and takes off at a pace faster than I have ever travelled before. With a leap, we land behind a fallen tree, and Julius presses my head down. And we wait. It's quiet, but I can feel them still near, moving silently. "Listen carefully," Julius whispers, his eyes locked onto mine. "I want you to climb that tree and hide. I'll lead them away from you, then circle back around so we can set a trap." "Julius, no! I won't leave you alone with those monsters," I protest, tightening my grip on his hand. "Trust me, Savannah. he insists, his expression resolute. We don't have time to argue. If we don't act now, we're both dead. As much as I hate the thought of leaving Julius to face the Orcs alone, and the thought of staying up in a treetop where I'd be as good as dead, I know that he's right. We need to split up if we're going to outsmart our pursuers. Go, he orders, giving me a gentle shove toward the tree. I scramble up the trunk, finding purchase on its gnarled branches. Julius wastes no time, abandoning all sense of discretion as he begins to step on tree branches and make a loud, exaggerated show of scrambling away, making as much noise as possible. With that, both the Orcs step out of the undergrowth, large, evil grins on their faces. I fear for Julius, but I trust his cunningness. He runs, and like mutts, they follow. As soon as Julius has led the Orcs out of sight, he doubles back to the tree where I am hidden. His eyes dart around the area, quickly assessing our surroundings for potential traps. Finally, he spots a cluster of thick vines hanging from a nearby branch. Perfect, he mutters. Moving with practiced speed, Julius loops several vines together, fashioning them into a makeshift snare. He then ties one end to the branch and secures the other to a heavy rock, creating a counterweight. Jump down, he whispers urgently, signalling me to rejoin him. With a silent nod, I drop from the tree and land beside him, eager to help in any way I can. Help me cover the trap with leaves and branches, he instructs, his voice low and tense. We work quickly, disguising the snare until it's invisible against the forest floor. Remember, Julius whispers, gripping my hand tightly. Stay hidden in the branches until I give you the signal. Got it, I reply, my voice and hands trembling slightly as I reclaim my place in the low branches. Heavy footsteps and guttural snarls grow louder, indicating the Orcs' imminent arrival. I squeeze Julius's hand one last time before we separate, each taking a position on opposite sides of the trap. Here! Julius shouts, making sure to catch their attention. One of the berserker Orcs charge toward him, their bloodshot eyes filled with rage and lust for violence. You can't best your better, he taunts, leaping over the hidden snare just in time. As planned, the Orc follows, unable to resist the urge to attack. As the Orc steps onto the disguised snare, the trap springs into action. The vines whip around its legs, yanking it up into the air. It roars in frustration, struggling to free itself from the tight grip of the vines. My heart hammers in my chest as I watch the trapped Orc dangle helplessly above the ground, knowing I need to play my part just as well if we're to succeed. Now, Savannah! Julius calls out as he dodges the second Orc's wild swings, leading it to my hiding spot. I scream my exertion, dropping from my hiding place and swinging my body weight forward on the branch as hard as I can, kicking the second Orc squarely in the chest. Caught off balance, it crashes into the pitfall we had prepared earlier, landing with a sickening thud. His head strikes a rock, and blood begins to ooze from his split skull. I drop to see the swinging Orc land on his feet, a dagger gleaming in his hands. Julius quickly seizes the opportunity to snatch the fallen Orc's axe, twirling it in his hand as he assesses the weapon. Then, quick as lightning, Julius turns on one foot and releases the axe through the air. I hear the dull thud as the axe buries itself into the head of the Orc. The sound of his body dropping to the forest floor is music to my ears. There's a lot to be said for teamwork. Julius grins at me, and my heart skips a beat.
Chapter 32. Julius. Fuck, that was close, I tell myself as I pull the axe out of the dumb Orc's head. I turn to Savannah, who has all but collapsed on the ground, regaining her strength, or perhaps just catching her breath from the excitement of it all. She did well. I am proud of her. We appear to make an excellent team, and that pleases me. I have yet to figure out where we go from here, but we are firmly in this together now. There is no arguing that. I look around and think it best that we head for high ground. I notice an outcropping of rock that would provide shelter and a good view of any unwelcome visitors. I know you are tired, but we should get somewhere safer just in case, I tell Savannah. I think we have used up our luck for this day. Savannah sighs as she rises to her feet. The poor thing is exhausted. I take the opportunity to really look at her, notice the way her chestnut hair cascades over her shoulders, curling slightly at the ends. Her green eyes are alive with determination, almost daring fate to challenge her again. It's impossible not to feel the attraction growing within me. She's stunning, fierce, and undeniably captivating. "Thank you, Julius," she says, her voice low but steady. "Without you, I'd probably be dead or worse. And probably I too without you," I tell her, giving her a wink. "And what of poor Gilna?" Savannah asks. "I'm sure she is safe, don't worry yourself," I tell her. "You're probably right. She seemed more than capable of handling herself with the guards." She smiles, a beautiful and most rewarding smile. "We head east." I point to the nearby outcrop. A short hop and skip away. "I think we'll be safe there. Perhaps we shall like it so much we'll spend the rest of our days there." Savannah giggles and we set off. I believe my words have given her a little spring in her step. Another half hour of walking takes us to what is the perfect little hideaway. The overhang from the rocks below will give us the shelter we need should the weather change. Savannah picks fruit from the bushes that hide us from the outside world. Savannah returns with a handful of berries, popping them into her mouth and savoring their sweet tanginess. She offers me some, and I gladly accept, the juice staining my fingertips purple. "Those are far better than I remember them being," I say appreciatively, licking my fingers clean. "Nature's candy," Savannah replies with a grin, and the sight of it makes something flutter in my chest. "They're better when you've earned them, I suppose." As we continue to eat, I can't help but let my eyes linger on her, taking in every detail of her face. The delicate curve of her cheekbones, the sprinkle of freckles across her nose, the way her lips curl when she smiles. All of it draws me in like a moth to a flame. I want to know more about this woman who stumbled into my life, bringing chaos and excitement in her wake. As our gazes lock, I can't help but wonder if she feels the same way. I watch as she gathers moss and fallen leaves to make beds for us to sleep. As she bends over, I feel myself stiffen against my trousers, imaging pulling up her skirt and moving myself into position to take her from behind. The thought. She turns. "I'm hungry." "So am I, my dear. So am I tell her, as the image of her on all fours hangs in my head with equal delight and torment. "I'll get my axe." I lift the axe and slip into the undergrowth. My mate is hungry, and it is my job to satisfy her needs. It does not take long for a wandering rabbit to cross my path. My instincts are still on point since the Orcs. I quickly bring the axe down on the neck of the rabbit, and dinner will soon be served. After some concealed difficulty lighting a fire, I watch as Savannah eats. "How's your bunny?" I ask her playfully. "Moist," she replies and averts her gaze from my eyes. "Tush." I rest myself back on my left shoulder, raise my right knee and place my hand upon it. I notice the flick of Savannah's eye towards my well-posed figure. "What was it like?" she asks me. "For the world to believe you dead?" Quite the weighted question, I think, but deserves thought. "My only concern was for you." I nail that one firmly to the door. "And will you take revenge on my father?" she asks. Nothing could be further from my mind, I tell her. I will, at some stage, discuss my plans for her rodent of a father and worse brother, but I don't think now is the time. "Okay," she says, and I can't quite read that reply. So, I try to change direction. "Tell me what you were like as a child." She thinks for a second. "I like to escape. It became quite the pastime for me." "I've noticed," I smile at her. "I always seem to find myself in rooms I don't care to remain in," Savannah states matter-of-factly. "Why hang around when the desire has disappeared?" I tell her. "Exactly," she says with a nod of her head. "I think you're quite the daredevil," I say, watching her blush. "Guilty as charged," she admits with a shrug, a mischievous glint in her eye. We both laugh. "I enjoy your company, Savannah Friedman. I don't think anyone has made me feel this comfortable with myself." I reach and tuck a stray strand of hair behind her ear. "And I, yours." "Julius," Savannah begins hesitantly, after a moment of silence, her eyes fixed on the dying embers of our makeshift fire. "Can I ask you something?" "Of course," I reply, my voice softening as I sense the vulnerability in her question. "Have you ever been afraid?" she asks, her voice barely more than a whisper. "I mean, truly afraid, not just for your life, but for everything?" I let out a slow breath, my thoughts racing as I try to put my own fears and insecurities into words. "Yes, I have," I admit eventually, swallowing hard against the lump rising in my throat. "There are so many things at stake right now. Sometimes it feels like the weight of the world is crashing down on me. But I keep going because there's no other choice." Savannah nods solemnly, her gaze still locked on the flickering flames. "I've been scared too," she confesses, her voice trembling slightly. "But somehow, being here with you makes it all seem a little less terrifying." "Likewise," I murmur, feeling a warmth spread through my chest at her words. "Promise me something," she says suddenly, her eyes meeting mine with a fierce intensity that takes me aback. "Promise me that, no matter what happens, we'll always be there for each other." "I promise," I reply without hesitation. "Julius." She breathes my name softly. She looks at me with a mixture of fear and desire. I lean in closer, her warm breath fanning my face as our lips hover mere inches apart. The anticipation is maddening, making my skin tingle with electricity. Our eyes lock, and in this moment, I want nothing more than to taste her, to feel her lips against mine. And then, in the space of a heartbeat, our world shatters. "Looks like we got ourselves a couple of lovebirds." A voice shatters the fragile silence between Savannah and me. 3 hooded figures emerge from the shadows. I pull Savannah close to me. Cold fear now replaces the warmth of desire consuming me moments ago. What the fuck is happening?
Chapter 33. Savannah. "Who are you?" Julius demands. I sense his protective instincts kicking in, and I can feel the tension radiating off him. My heart skips a beat as fear grips me like a vice, but the warmth of Julius's arms gives me hope. "Julius," I whisper, clutching him tightly. There's something about these men that sends shivers down my spine. He glances at me briefly, before returning his gaze to the intruders, his eyes full of determination. "Answer me," he shouts again, his voice booming. "What do you want?" "Why don't you go first?" one of the hooded figures says, his voice deep and menacing. "Enough of this nonsense," Julius exclaims, trying to maintain his composure. "I will not ask again. Reveal yourselves, and I might consider answering your question." The 3 men seem to exchange glances before slowly pulling back their hoods in unison. 3 shockingly human, rugged faces with intense gazes are revealed in the firelight. My fear doesn't subside as I take in their appearances, and a nagging uneasiness settles in my stomach. Each of them has a long, jagged scar running down their left cheek, as if some brutal rite of passage has marked them. My mind races with questions about who these men are, and how they came to bear such scars. "Listen," Julius interjects, his voice firm. "We have no quarrel with you. Just leave us be and be on your way." I can sense he knows we are outnumbered, but I can feel his sharp mind working a way out of this for us. I trust him with my life. "But we can't do that, can we?" Another hooded man chimes in, taking a step forward. "Not without knowing why you're here." Okay, Julius says as he lifts himself to his feet. "Let's start again, shall we?" There is silence before one of them speaks. "The wisest words you have spoken yet, my friend, and might just save your elf ass." He smiles. "I am Gardo." I sense Julius has this planned, and they are playing ball for him. "This is Taran, and this is Caradoc." The other men bow their heads slightly. Julius sniffs before speaking. "I am Julius of the Rosenfires of Orthani, and this is Savannah Freeborn." "I smell coin," Taran says. "And so you should. We are wealthy and have the means to pay our way, if necessary," Julius tells them. "Fancy," Taran adds. "We have friends in the highest of places," Julius tells them. The 3 men let out a laugh. I can sense Julius is showing off a bit now, but I forgive him for that. He is a proud elf. You couldn't be further from your high places as you are now. Taran says, we have no need for coins here. The gods provide for us as we provide for them. I have no idea what that means, and honestly, I don't really want to know. And what is it exactly you want from us? Julius asks honestly. Well, that's simple. Answers. What business do you have on our sacred ground? Gardo says clearly. We're merely having a little adventure, stealing ourselves away from prying eyes, if you know what I mean. Julius lightens his tone and pushes his, quite frankly, very attractive charm. The two dead orcs back there tell a different story. Taran says, rubbing his chin. I wonder how Julius will get out of that one. Ah, yes, those. We murdered them. Both my gentle Savannah here, and I slaughtered them with our bare hands. And to think she didn't get a drop of blood on her prettiest of dresses, Julius says, with a very devilish and sexy grin. Why, exactly? Gardo frowns. Sport, Julius says enthusiastically. Yes, we enjoy nothing more than butchering any orc we happen to encounter, don't you? Your lies are entertaining at least, elf. I'll give you that, Gardo replies. I can't take it anymore. We were attacked, I shout out. I sense Julius's disappointment beside me. Ah, Gardo says. The lady at least knows the value of truth. Julius shifts on his feet. I'm an elf, what can I say? We lie, we cheat, and we eat your children, hands up. But the fact remains that those hairy-assed orcs met their demise at our hands. Yes, that at least I believe. But what do you think will happen after they skin the last elf alive back at the outpost, from which we know you have come, and discover two of their best berserkers missing? Gardo says. I have the strangest feeling you are about to tell us, Julius says. They will hunt you down, Gardo says. I can't even imagine what they will do to your pretty lady friend here. Tarn looks at me, licking his lips. I suddenly feel sick to my stomach. Take your eyes off of her before I remove them from your skull, Julius snarls and pulls me close to him. Your luck is out, Caradoc hisses. You have bloodied our sacred ground. Orc blood is impure. The gods are angry. And pray tell, exactly what gods have we pissed off? Julius flippantly says. The old gods, Caradoc states matter-of-factly. The ones that came with the humans from the planet Earth. I sense a great irritation in Julius, and hope he does nothing silly, but it is Julius after all, so I brace myself. There is no such realm as Earth, Julius says. Humans were created by the 13 to be used for sport and labour by elves. Humanity had a civilization before even the elves, Caradoc says. Oh, fuck this shit, you stupid savages, Julius spits at them. I watch as he reaches down and pulls the axe out he'd hidden under a bush, but before he can even raise it, Taran pulls a large club out from under his cloak and swings it. It lands hard on Julius's shoulder. I watch in horror as it dislocates his shoulder from his body. The axe drops, and soon after, Julius drops, screaming in pain. Julius! I cry out, and fall to my knees beside him. I take his head and pull it close to my bosom to comfort him. I stroke his head and do all I can to rid him of the pain that has been inflicted upon him. We apologise for that, my lady, Gardo says. Apologise? I angrily ask them. Look what you've done to him. That we will fix, Gardo says, as Taran bends down and takes the axe. Bastards! Julius bites out through the searing pain. I stare at them as tears begin to stream down my face. My poor Julius, I think, as I notice Caradoc approach me. He looks closely at me, dead into my eyes, and kneels before me. I recoil in terror as he reaches over and runs his hand down my cheek. This one she is different, he speaks. I knew it, Taran adds joyfully. Good, good, Gardo says, satisfied with himself. Now both of you are coming back with us.
Chapter 34. Julius. The pain in my shoulder throbs as the cart jolts over rough terrain, each bump sending waves of agony through my body. Savannah's fingers gently trace along my arm, her touch soft as comforting. Julius, will we be okay? She whispers, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. All will be well. Don't worry, I reply, gritting my teeth against the pain. The humans, Gatto and Caradoc, sit at the front of the cart, their backs to us, and Terran is with us, cracking his fingers and staring into the blackness of the woods. "Where do you think they're taking us?" Savannah asks, her voice quivering with fear. I glance at the dense woods surrounding us, shadows stretching out like grasping hands. "I don't know. I hate to see her afraid." Her eyes search mine, desperate for reassurance. I wish I could give her more certainty, but my own fears gnaw at me. There is something very strange about all this that I am struggling to put my finger on. As we continue down the narrow path, the woods around us seem to consume us. The air is heavy, and the silence is oppressive, devoid of even the faintest rustle of leaves or animal sounds. "Julius, I feel strange," Savannah confesses. I see the fear in her eyes, reflecting my own. "Stay close. I'll protect you," I tell her. We both know the truth is that without my magic and with one of my arms hanging limply, I might not be able to. The cart jostles beneath me, sending a sharp stab of pain through my dislocated shoulder. I grit my teeth to stifle a curse, anger mixing with helplessness. "Damn this," I mumble under my breath to Savannah, who looks at me with concern in her eyes. "If I still had my magic, I'd show these bastards." "Ah, now, no need for that," Gatto tells us over his shoulder. "You two have nothing to fear from us." "Where are you taking us?" Savannah asks, her voice trembling slightly as the cart enters an increasingly narrower path within the dark forest. "The future is not yet now, miss. You do not need to be concerned with it," Terran tells her. I have no idea what that means. The cart jolts again, sending pain like I've never felt before through my body right into my soul. "Ah!" I cry out. Savannah immediately tries to comfort me. Her soft touch wipes away the pain, and I am glad that she is by my side. My shoulder will mend, and I will once again have the strength required to protect her, escape this bizarre place we have found ourselves in. The wooden cart creaks and groans as it veers off the main path, plunging us deeper into the heart of the woods. I watch the one called Taran as he gazes out into the darkness as if willing something, some sight, to appear from the blackness. "It moves, you know," he says. I'm not sure who he is talking to, but assume it is us. "What does?" I ask him. "It all moves as one. You just have to catch it, feel its rhythm, and dance," he says, staring into the dark. I look round at Savannah, who is peering into the woods with fear. "There," Taran suddenly says, and both Savannah and I jump. Taran turns to us. "Did you feel it?" "Feel what?" I ask him. "Everything at once." He chuckles to himself. "We are blessed this night, Taran," Caradoc shouts from the front of the cart. "They are pleased with our catch," Taran says satisfactorily. I know Savannah is thinking the same thing as me. Who exactly is pleased? We round a bend and enter a small, shadowy settlement nestled among the trees. The primitive buildings are made of rough-hewn wood, adorned with strange symbols and crude carvings. Offerings dangle from the branches above, dried herbs, animal bones, and other unidentifiable objects. The sight sends a shiver down both our spines. A handful of inhabitants turn to watch us pass, their gazes curious and cautious. I notice that nearly all of them are men, each with the same jagged scars marring their faces. My blood runs cold at what those marked could possibly mean. "Julius!" Savannah breathes, her eyes wide with terror. "What is this place?" "The end of everything, it would seem," I murmur, swallowing hard as our captors lead us toward a small hill at the edge of the settlement. Atop the mound stand 2 wooden cages, their bars gnarled and weathered. "Please, no," I hear Savannah whimper. The cart stops suddenly, and the humans jump down. "We have prepared you shelter," Gatto says, looking toward the cages. "A fucking cage, are you kidding?" I snap at them. "We will have no quarrel," Caradoc snaps, his grip on my arm tightening painfully. "This is what must be done." Taryn moves toward us and reaches out for Savannah. I want to fight, but the pain in my shoulder reminds me of the futility of resistance. Savannah's frightened gaze meets mine, and I nod, resigned to our fate. She makes her way off the cart, and I follow, helped down by Gatto. As we step inside the cages, Caradoc approaches us, holding a small clay bottle. "This will protect you," he murmurs, sprinkling a strange, foul-smelling liquid over us. The scent is rancid, and it burns my nostrils. I shudder, feeling the chill of the damp forest air on my skin. Protection? From what? I demand, my voice tight with fear and anger. They do not answer. I can only watch helplessly as the door slams shut behind us, leaving Savannah and me trapped in this nightmare. A bell begins to toll, echoing across the settlement. I watch from my cage as the humans hurry, then disappear into their dwellings. "Wait," I call out to them as they turn to leave. "What about my shoulder?" "Rest assured, a healer will see to you," he says, though his eyes are evasive. "But not tonight. These hours do not belong to us." With that ominous warning, our captors depart. Savannah and I exchange nervous glances, our hearts pounding hard and fast. My mind races with hopeless thoughts of escape, but it is far from my grasp. "Julius," Savannah whispers, her voice quivering. "What's happening?" "I do not know, but we will be okay," I tell her. But I have no reason to believe that we will be.
Chapter 35. Savannah. The chill of the night seeps into my bones, a shivering whisper that matches the tremble in my voice. "Julius," I call out softly, my eyes straining to make out his silhouette in the cage opposite mine. "Right here, Savannah." His voice is steady, a rock amidst the roiling sea of fear within me, but even that familiar tenor cannot disguise the tightness behind his words that betrays his unease. "Are you okay?" My heart twists with concern, knowing full well he isn't, not with his shoulder wrenched from its socket. "Been better," he admits, and I can almost see his pained grimace through the gloom. "But don't worry about me." I stretch my hand toward him, fingers clawing through the wooden slats, yearning for the warmth of his touch. He mirrors my movement, but the gap between us is a chasm we can't bridge. A sharp hiss escapes him as he extends too far, and I immediately withdraw my hand. "Sorry," I whisper, though I know it's not truly my fault. It's this damned situation, these cursed cages. But apologizing feels like the only thing I can do that might offer solace. "Nothing to be sorry for," he replies, trying to sound reassuring, but the darkness swallows his bravado. "Psst!" A voice speaks from the dark. "You awake, Lord Rosenfire?" I stay still, unsure of what to do, and wait for Julius's voice. "It would appear that way. Tell me, why do you address me as I should be?" Julius asks him. "What's happening, Julius?" I can contain myself no longer. "We have company, looks like Caradoc. Try and follow my lead," Julius tells me. Caradoc steps out of the shadows and knees between the cages. "I'd offer drinks, but my manners escape me," Julius says, levelling a glare at Caradoc. "I have some advice for you, Julius," Caradoc says. "Really?" Julius replies, faux excitement colouring his voice. "Cut the shit, elf," Caradoc snaps. "Knew it wouldn't last," Julius snaps back. "Listen, we know you have lost your magic, Lord Rosenfire. You might think us savages out here, but the wind carries from the big city, and some of us know how to listen." Caradoc grins. "It's just temporary. I can feel it coming back as we speak," Julius states. "Listen to me, Julius, and listen good. Now you belong to us, and if you go softly, well—" He nods at each of us slowly before adding, "Let me just tell you this. All that is lost is eventually found," Caradoc says with a wink. With that, Caradoc slips back into the darkness, leaving Julius and I wide-eyed. I am panic-struck. "What does he mean?" I ask Julius. "They are just trying to frighten us, Savannah," he tells me, but there's an edge to his voice that's impossible to miss. If that's what they're trying to do, then it's working. A silence seems to have settled over the village square, thick and oppressive. The huts that circle us are buttoned up tight, no flicker of candlelight or murmur of voices. It's as if the world has paused, holding its breath. What are they afraid of out there? What unseen dread has driven our captors into hiding? Julius, I start, my voice barely above a whisper. Why have they all vanished indoors? What's out here? He shifts in his cage, wincing, reaching me across the void. I don't know, but it can't be good. Speculation races through my mind. Every tale of monsters and curses I've ever heard coming to the fore, playing out their horrors in vivid detail behind my eyelids. We're trapped, defenseless, and whatever is in the shadows knows it. Stay calm, he urges, though his voice doesn't carry the conviction it usually does. We'll get through this. I hope. The cold night chills my bones, but it's the silence from beyond that truly seeps into my bones. I shift uncomfortably on the hard ground, drawing my knees up to my chest to conserve whatever warmth I can muster. We sit drenched in the silence. I try not to let it bother me, but it does. Julius, tell me something. Anything. Okay, imagine this, Savannah. Julius's voice pierces the stillness, his words a tender caress against the harshness of our captivity. A little cottage by the sea, just you and me, the fire roaring in the hearth, waves crashing outside our window. I laugh softly despite the tremor of fear that refuses to uncoil from my spine. And long walks on the beach? I ask, playing along. The idea is ludicrous, given our current predicament, but the fantasy offers a brief respite from the dread. Every morning and every dusk, he promises, and there's a smile in his voice that almost makes the image real. Almost. With a groan, he shifts in his cage, a jarring scrape of wood and a sharp intake of breath as he nurses his dislocated shoulder. My heart clenches at the sound, guilt gnawing at me for even entertaining thoughts of future happiness when Julius is in pain. Your magic would have fixed that in seconds, I murmur, letting the shadows swallow the wistful note in my voice. Yes, my magic, he says, gone like smoke on the wind. Julius, why? I press, needing to understand, to share the burden of his sorrow. He hesitates, a hitch in his breath that speaks volumes. It's complicated, he finally admits, his tone guarded. There are things I haven't told you. About my past. But now is not the time. The quiet of the night is a lie, a thin veil that shrouds untold threats lurking just beyond the reach of our wooden prison. My breath hitches as a distant rustling becomes noticeable in the woods, like a serpent slithering through tall grass. I press my back against the rough timber of the cage, my heart a drumbeat echoing in my chest. Julius, I whisper, my voice quivering with trepidation. Do you hear that? Stay calm, he answers from his enclosure, his voice strained but steady. It's probably just an animal. What kind of animal? The words tumble out of me, unbidden, as I imagine the worst. Who's there? Julius demands into the darkness, his words slicing through the silence like a blade. No answer comes, only the sound of our collective breaths and the unsettling thrum of the nocturnal forest. We wait, suspended in uncertainty, when suddenly a stone crashes against my cage with a jarring thud. Julius! My voice breaks as I press my face against the wooden bars, trying to see through the impenetrable night. Did you... Another one hit me. He cuts in, his attempt at calm faltering. The silence is now pregnant with threat, each second stretching out like an eternity. Are we under attack? My mind races with possibilities, none of them comforting. What do they want with us? Quiet, Savannah, listen. Julius's tone is urgent, and I obey instinctively, straining my ears for any sign of our unseen assailant. Then, a barrage ensues, as if in response to some unspoken command. Stones and bits of branches pelt our cages, clattering, thumping, a chaotic symphony of aggression. Stop it! I scream, my voice raw with fear. The projectiles come faster, relentlessly, a storm of terror and confusion. Please stop. Stay down, Savannah! Julius shouts, his panic barely contained. I crouch on the cage floor, wrapping my arms around my knees, feeling the sting of tears in my eyes. Fear grips me, a cold hand squeezing my heart. Every impact against the wood reverberates through my bones, every imagined shape in the darkness, a potential horror come to life. "Who are you?" Julius bellows again, but the only answer is the continuing assault on our senses, on our already fragile hope. Desperation seeps into his voice, a testament to our shared helplessness. "Make it stop," I whisper, a mantra against the madness. But the stones keep coming, and the night offers no solace, only more questions and the echoing fear that perhaps the actual monsters are not confined to the woods. They are everywhere, even within. The clamour outside shifts suddenly as voices begin to yelp and cry out, raw and urgent, while the clang of sticks being struck against the trees punctuates the night air like erratic heartbeats. "What the fuck?" Julius's voice trails off, strained with pain and bewilderment. "Julius, what is this?" I whisper, my voice trembling. "What's happening?" "Just trying to scare us, no doubt." "Stay calm," he replies, his words laced with uncertainty. I press my forehead against the bars, every muscle tensed, listening as the infernal drumming reaches a crescendo before cutting off abruptly. The abrupt silence is almost more terrifying than the noise. The village square, now eerily still, seems to hold its breath. In the stillness, every shadow seems sinister. Julius and I exchange a look, his eyes reflecting my own turmoil. Our shared fear and confusion is a silent scream that travels through the village and far into the deep, ancient woods.
Chapter 36. Julius. The pain shakes me awake. I hadn't even realized I'd managed to fall asleep, but I am thankful that I wake in daylight and the horrors of the night before have passed. What the fuck was all that? I muttered to myself, rubbing at my aching shoulder. The memory of stones pelting down from unseen hands and unearthly shrieks tearing through the woods replay like some twisted lullaby in my head. My heart hammers against my ribs, echoing the dread that tightens around my throat. No natural being makes sounds like those. A shiver runs down my spine, and I clutch the cage bars, seeking solidity in this maddening place. What the hell have we stumbled into? I can still feel the sting of those projectiles on my skin, the echoes of those screams in my ears. It's beyond anything I've ever known. Something otherworldly, incomprehensible. I feel a presence and turn to see a small child standing staring at me. As much as I have no desire to, I muster a smile at the little brat. He launches a glob of spit from his mouth and it lands on my face. "I hope they suck the marrow from your bones. Use your fingers for forks and hang your body by your cock from the tallest tree," the kid hisses at me. "Sadistic little shit, aren't you?" I tell him, wiping his spit off my face with the back of my hand. "You could almost be an elf." "What?" the kid asks me. "Come closer," I smile at him. I watch him as he thinks my invitation through. And as he makes the wrong decision, I hold the smile on my face until he gets close enough. "I'll tear your fucking eyes out!" I yell at him and shoot my good arm out from the cage to grab him. Then I watch as he shits his trousers, turns on his heel, and runs back to his mother's tit. I sit back and giggle, pleased for the moment's respite, and at the fact I still have the touch. Then I look at Savannah in the other cage, hoping I haven't woken her. Thankfully, she still sleeps in peace. I watch her chest rise and fall, the innocence of sleep clinging to her like a shroud. "Sleep, dream," I murmur to her in the silence around us. "Dreams are all we have left that can't be tainted by this cursed place." My shoulder screams with a vengeance when I shift my weight, a stark reminder of the previous night's terrors. The memories claw at my mind, and I try to shake off the feeling that something otherworldly is reaching out to us, waiting. "Elf, are you awake?" Gatto's voice cuts through the morning fog. "Awake?" That's one way to put it, I snap back, though no one's around to appreciate the acid in my tone. More like painfully roused from nightmares, but who's keeping track? I rise to my feet, each movement a choreographed dance with pain. The shoulder feels like it's been mauled by a beast. I hiss under my breath at him. What fresh torment awaits today, HM? Another round with the stone-throwing woodland crazies? Sleep well? Gatto asks me, completely ignoring my comments about the night before. I see Terran looming just behind him with his usual dumb expression. Well, come on, offer it up then, I tell him. What the hell was all the shit last night? Gatto leans against the bars, unfazed. It is the way of things here, he says. Way of things, I echo, incredulity sharpening my tone. What next? A welcoming committee of goblins armed with pitchforks and torches? Temper your tongue, elf, Taran warns, though there's no real heat in his voice. This land has ears, and they're not fond of mockery. Good, I spit back, my anger rising like bile. Let it hear me. Let it quake in its bloody boots, knowing Julius Rosenfire won't cower, even caged and crippled. Your courage, or foolishness, is noted, Taran replies dryly. Oh, what joy, I say, rolling my eyes. To be acknowledged by a fucking human. Savannah stirs then, but doesn't wake, lost in whatever peaceful illusion her mind conjures. I envy her that respite, and for one fragile, fleeting moment, I wish for nothing more than the ability to slip into a world of dreams myself, away from the brutal reality that waits to pounce on us with every sunrise. But dreams are a luxury I can ill afford, not while trapped in the claws of this twisted adventure. Time to see the healer, Gatto announces, and despite the sour taste of distrust in my mouth, a flicker of hope sparks within me. About time, I mutter as I rise, wincing at the pain radiating from my shoulder. The throbbing ache had been a constant companion since the chaos of last night, a reminder of how fragile we truly are against the backdrop of the unknown. Taran leads the way, his strides purposeful, though not unkind. You'll be right as rain once Bernard's done with you. Bernard? I echo, the name foreign on my tongue. What type of a name is Bernard? It means golden dweller in the meadow, Gatto says with a sly smile. I have no image to pin it to save for the expectation of a healer's wisdom. Perhaps an elder with gentle hands and eyes to match is what I need right now. The shack looms at the edge of the village, its timbers rotting, the windows so caked with grime that they trap the darkness inside like a hoarder. The door creaks open, protesting our intrusion into a world where cleanliness has long succumbed to the relentless siege of filth. What's that smell? I choke out, stepping over a pile of unidentifiable muck. Quiet, Taran chides, and respectfully bows to a very large, ugly man sitting at a table, chewing his way through a raw live chicken. I retch. Taran kicks me, and I do what is expected and bow my head. The hulking figure rises from a stool, the half-dead chicken squirming in his grasp. My gaze catches on his thick fingers and his face smeared with blood. He's a mountain of flesh, his bulk contained by leather straps and a tunic that strains at the seams. Is this the dirty elf? He rumbles, his voice a bass note plucked from the strings of nightmares, wiping his mouth with the back of his hand. Gatto nods in agreement. Dirty? I retort, my pride pricking. I've bathed more recently than this hovel has seen a broom, I wager. Enough, elf. Bernard's words rumble through the room. Tie him to the table. Like hell you will... My protest is cut short as Gatto and Taran grip my arms, steering me towards a wooden slab that's seen more stains than a butcher's apron. Their hold is firm yet apologetic, a contradiction made flesh. Damn you, let go! I snarl, twisting in their grasp, but it's like fighting the tide with a teaspoon. Relax, Julius, Taran murmurs, his voice incongruously calm as they secure me to the table. Bernard has the hands of a goddess. And I take a moment as I am pinned helplessly to the table to study these hands of a goddess, huge, chapped, and covered in blood, as they reach out for my shoulder.
Chapter 37. Savannah. A scream of someone in pain awakes me, and I know it to be Julius. I look toward his cage, hoping to find him asleep, But it is empty as another scream tears into my heart. Julius! My voice comes out raw, desperate. What are they doing to you? I press my face against the damp steel and look across the cold, rain-splattered village, hoping to find answers. But there are none. It's torture, not knowing, my mind conjuring images far worse than any reality could be. Or so I hope. Please be okay, I murmur, my breath forming clouds in the chill air. My heart races, every beat a drum calling me to action. But what can I do? Trapped. Useless. No, not useless. I won't let them see me broken. For Julius, I will be stone, unyielding and cold. I will survive this, for both of us. Come back to me, Julius, I whisper into the indifferent night. You promised. I watch as they approach. A group of village women, their colourful garments standing starkly against the forest's muted tones, stop before my cage. Time to prepare you, dear, one says, her voice gentle, laced with an accent that belongs far away from here and my understanding of this world. Prepare me, I ask. For the offing, child? Another woman says, smiling with delight, her eyes soft yet unreadable. We are excited for you. We will help cleanse you. Cleansed. My mind races at the thought of the word. What the hell does that mean? But these women don't look cruel. Their touch has no malice as they unlock the cage and guide me out. Where are we going? I ask, my strides matching theirs, despite the uncertainty that gnaws at my insides. To the sacred spring, says a younger woman with a dance in her step. I don't understand, I echo hollowly, tasting the fear I refuse to show. There is no need to understand. Leave that well behind, my dear. Leave that well behind. Drink this, another woman offers, handing me a flask. The liquid inside smells potent, earthy, and sweet. I hesitate, but her encouraging nod prompts me to take a sip. It burns down my throat, pooling warmth in my belly, and soon my head swims with an unfamiliar lightness. Easy now. She caresses my arm, guiding me as the world tilts ever so slightly. Let it do its work. I stumble forward, buoyed by their hands, as thoughts of Julius pierce the haze. Should he see me now, what would he think? What have you given me? I manage, stumbling over roots and rocks hidden by the undergrowth. The drink churns within me, blurring the edges of my anxiety. Every step, a woman replies, her voice laced with certainty, brings thee to the them. Them? I laugh, the sound bitter. Who is them? You'll see, one of the women tells me with a giggle. They are always watching, Savannah, another woman adds, and tonight they will welcome you as they have always done. Now, we break through the tree line and the sacred spring is a beautiful sight to my now strange vision. I must admit, even without my current state, I know it must be a beautiful sight. Now free yourself of coverage. There's nothing to hide here, one of the women tells me. The idea does please me, and I feel a scratch on my skin from the clothes that bound me and would welcome them gone. The women's hands are gentle but insistent as they peel my garments away, fabric whispering its final secrets as it falls to the grass. My skin drinks in the sun, baring itself to the world without a hint of shame. Bye, Bear, look at you, coos one of the village women, her eyes dancing with glee. Free as a newborn. I giggle at the thought of Julius if he were here watching me, maybe from the bushes, getting stiff to the sight of me bare naked. His tongue longing to lick my breasts. A dirty, dirty elf. My head is light, and I don't think I am thinking straight. Into the water, child, a younger woman urges, gesturing towards the spring. My feet carry me forward, each step deliberate. Tonight, one of them whispers, will be such a merry night. Onward you go, young miss, another says, her laughter light as she guides me toward the waiting embrace of the spring. I step into the water, gasping as the cold seizes my limbs, wrapping around me like chains of ice. But it's a lively shackle, sparking every nerve alive and alight with the raw essence of nature. It's an awakening, a rebirth in these sacred depths. Give yourself over, Savannah, urges the youngest among them, her grin wide and wicked. Let you be cleansed of every touch. But I try to speak but can't. Whatever flows through my veins has control over me, and I cannot do anything but give myself over to it. One of them starts to sing, ebb and flow, into the spring thou must go. Another joins in, purge thyself of all thine pricks, thy mind will soar and thine eyes shall glow. Then they all join in as I long to be embraced by the cold water. And I sing with them, ebb and flow, into the spring thou must go. Purge thyself of all thine pricks, thy mind will soar and thine eyes shall glow. My head spins as the shocks of the cold water nip at my senses, and I go weak at the knees. I feel alive. And then they join me in the water, throwing themselves around me, laughing like naughty children. And I find myself embracing everything around me. I lie back in the water and let the water nibble at my neck, wondering what this is all about. But yet a voice tells me to be careful as something isn't right.
Chapter 38. Julius. I am damp. I awake with a start and find myself staring at a dirty ceiling. I feel sheets covering me, but they are far from warm and comfortable. It feels like I'm lying in a damp sock. I look around me. I'm in a bedroom with a filthy window that offers no light and yellowed wallpaper peeling from the walls. Yet one thing is clear. The pain in my shoulder is gone. Completely disappeared. Then I remember the oaf. That big hunk of blubber must have fixed my shoulder. I give thanks for that. The pain had been unbearable. Sleep well, Gatto says with a chuckle. At the bottom of the bed, I notice Gatto, Taran, and Caradoc are standing there, grinning like idiots. Pleasant dreams? Taran adds, chuckling. Told ya, hands like a goddess, Caradoc teases. It takes a moment for me to register a familiar, throbbing sensation pulsating from my nether region. It's then that I become painfully aware that I have a large, stiff-as-a-brick erection pushing up the dirty bedsheets. My face burns despite myself, and with as much finesse as I can muster, I attempt to sit up to hide myself, only to find my feet are tied to the bed. What the hell? I have to grab my thighs in order to remain upright. We need to keep you safe, Taran tells me. Safe from who? It appears to me the only people I need to be protected from are you lot, I snap. Calm now, Julius. Today is not a day for anger, Taran says. I beg to differ. You're not the one tied to a damp bed, I state. How's your shoulder? Gatto asks. My shoulder? Well, better, I reply. See, we helped you. Doesn't that count for something? Caradoc says. Well, yes, and I thank you for that, but there's still the matter of why I'm tied to this bed to be addressed, I reply. You're an impatient elf, aren't you? Taran asks. I'm a fucking angry elf, I say calmly. Now, enough of this bullshit. I want answers. What exactly is going on? The men exchange glances, their smiles turning into cryptic expressions. Gatto says thoughtfully, The offing. What? I ask, my confusion growing by the second. Taran replies, his tone serious. The offing. The offing, Caradoc says with a nod. Can you please stop just repeating the same thing? I snap in frustration. There are no words we can give you, Gatto says. The two others nod in agreement, then just stare at me. Oh, for fuck's sake, I bark at them. You want to be careful, elf, you'll upset them, Caradoc states. Upset who? I shout. Who the fuck are them? All will be revealed, Taran says. You lot are fucking nuts. I fold my arms but find my stomach muscles unable to hold me upright for long, so I fall backward and counteract by giving them one of my intense elf stares. I curse under my breath, my mind racing with questions and fear. What is this offing? And why do I feel like Savannah is in grave danger? And what of Savannah? Is she still locked up in that cage like an animal? I ask. The door bursts open and Bernard appears. Without a word, he walks over to me, placing his thick, blood-soaked hands on my shoulder. He smells of piss and blood. I recoil. Praise to Biao. He is ready, Bernard says, looking upward. The others look on with glee, unable to contain their excitement. Fuck Biao, I remark. That's when I feel the fist strike my face. More shock than pain takes me the time to realize that it was Taryn that struck me. You'll regret that one day, I tell him, rubbing my cheek. No. You will when you meet, Taryn says. What? Wait? Who? I say, puzzled and more confused than ever now. Take him from here, Bernard commands. And they do. My feet are thankfully untied, and they lead me through the door of the bedroom into a grim hallway that leads to some unsteady stairs to a door outside and some most welcome fresh air. As we walk through the village, I can't help but notice a change in the atmosphere. There's almost a festive feel in the air. Women are out on the pouches and seem to be making garlands from flowers. Children are singing little songs, and others playing games I do not recognize. A little drunk man stumbles by and exclaims, "Keep up the day!" I turn to Gatto. What the hell does that mean? When it happens, you will know, he says, smiling. Are these people mad, with their unsettling grins and unexplainable joy at the oddest things? Then something strikes my groin and I double over to see an apple roll drop to my feet down the lane. I look round to see a little boy laughing from the side of the lane. That's for making me shit myself, he shouts. I let out a belly laugh. I like this kid. I hope the dwellers grind your balls down and feed them to you through your nostrils, he adds, enthusiastically jumping up and down. Who the fuck are the dwellers? I ask Caradoc. Everything and everyone are the old gods, he tells me. All will be revealed, Taryn adds. I wish the fuck you'd stop saying that, I reply. That's what they all say, Taryn replies. Madness. I found myself in some mad dream that I must wake from. And I have to pull Savannah out with me, both of us together, far away from here. But how? We round the corner that leads to the town square and the cages. I long to see Savannah again, and I hope that she is safe and hasn't been worried sick about me. Yet, as we near the square, my stomach drops to discover that Savannah's cage is empty. I turn to Gatto. Where is she? Her fate is now tied to the offing, Gatto replies with a smile. These smiles are really starting to annoy me now. Her journey has begun, Caradoc says. Taryn's grin broadens his tombstone teeth in full view. I glare at them, my anger a pulsing force like the blood in my veins. What the fuck do you mean? What have you done with Savannah? I demand, clenching and unclenching my fists. Easy, Julius, Gatto says. Best you get some rest now. Gatto turns to Caradoc and Taryn and gives them a look. Both jump forward and seize me, drag and throw me into the cage. They lock the gate. I am trapped once again. What have you done with her? I scream at them, my rage coursing through me as I bang my fist against the steel bars. Patience, my friend, Gatto says, chuckling darkly. Not long now. I watch as they walk away. I see Caradoc turn and put something to his lips. Then I feel the prick of something on my hand, like an insect bite. I turn and look at Savannah's empty cage. In my mind, try to find her, but I can't, and the pain of that is unbearable. Then the world turns black.
Chapter 39. Savannah. The chill of the water licks at my skin. The girls have stopped splashing now and have gathered around me. I lie back in the water and feel their hands on me. Gentle and calming. I feel as if I should be afraid, but I am not. They begin to spin me in the water round and round slowly. I watch the sky turn above me and listen to the voices as they melt with the moving water around me. Ebb and flow, it's time, young maiden, for you to go. The girls sing. Something is happening inside me, a stirring in the depths of my being that feels like the rumble of thunder from a coming storm. I can't place it, this sensation, dark and heavy, pressing down on my soul with an intensity that makes my heart beat a frantic rhythm against my ribcage. Beneath the sky your secrets will show, they continue. It's as if tendrils of shadow are threading through my veins, a black, intense force invading every corner of my body. Something is happening to me that I do not understand, and I suddenly feel afraid. My eyes are heavy. I long to close them, Perhaps if I do, this madness will cease. In the moonlight, their eyes will show. The ladies' voices disappear into the darkness, and I feel myself slipping from the world. My eyelids flutter open, and I again find myself in the horrible cage. The midday sun is high in the sky and shines directly upon my face. Little comfort does it bring, more of a stingy intensity of the confusion I have found myself in. My body feels heavy. I look down and notice that I am dressed in different clothes. A white cotton dress embossed with gold lining feels odd against my skin. On my feet are the strangest sandals, made from skin I don't recognize. I appear to have no undergarments on me. My breasts press tight against the material as if I were naked. Yet it is how I feel inside that troubles me more. I feel something has shifted in me. My mind is askew, but my vision is somehow more precise than ever. Julius! I look over to his cage. Julius! My voice croaks as I lean toward the bars of my cage, my hand stretching out between the bars. He lies asleep. Julius! I call out, hoping to wake him. He doesn't stir, and dread coils within me. I can see the rise and fall of his chest, slow and steady, but it does nothing to still the panic that surges within my veins. Julius, please! My words are more insistent now, louder in the silence that seems to echo back at me mockingly. My fingers manage to brush the cool iron of his cage, a futile attempt at connection. Damn it, Julius! Wake up! Anxiety gnaws at my gut, a sharp contrast to the numbness of my limbs. My heart races, a drumbeat of fear that drowns out the silence. What have they done to us? Is this another part of their twisted ritual? I pull back my hand, clenching it into a fist. There's a power inside me, pulsing just beneath the surface, something I don't understand and can't trust. I press my forehead to the bars, trying to anchor myself to the moment, to the urgency of Julius's unmoving form. Fight it, Julius. Fight whatever they've given you. Because if you don't, who will fight alongside me? Who will help me navigate this labyrinth of darkness we've stumbled into? The shadows in my mind laugh, taunting me, reminding me that I now share my body with another presence. Julius! Desperation seeps into my voice, raw and ragged, exposing the turmoil that churns within me. A shudder ripples through Julius's toned body and my heart leaps. His hand twitches, his fingers curling like they're grasping for something just out of reach. And then, eyes that remind me of a storm at sea snap open, meeting mine with an intensity that steals the breath from my lungs. He blinks, confusion giving way to recognition. And then, a smile, a rare one that reaches those stormy eyes and sets them alight. Savannah, he rasps, his voice a rough caress that somehow makes the cold steel bars between us feel less absolute. I thought I'd lost you. Tears threaten, but I swallow them back, refusing to show weakness when we're anything but safe. Can't get rid of me that easily, he quips, but the attempt at levity doesn't quite mask the edge in his tone. He pushes himself up and rubs what I can see now as a swelled cheek. What did they do to you? I ask. Well, a maniac fixed my shoulder. I got punched for offending one of their gods. A sadistic child threw an apple at my balls, and a poison dart put me to sleep. Just a normal day in Crazy Town. Julius grins optimistically at me. It's a wonder the elves haven't burned these people to the ground. Somehow, his boyish grin manages to warm my confused soul. Why are you dressed like that? Julius asks, looking at my dress. I have no idea, I reply. What did they do to you? You were gone when I got back, Julius asks. It was the strangest of things. I'm still trying to make sense of it all. I tell him. Don't rush yourself, my dear. I don't want to put any more stress upon you than what we're already embroiled in, Julius softly tells me. This is the Julius I know, the one so few get to see. Kind, gentle, loving. Even in the midst of madness. I smile softly at him, preparing to tell him as much, when we're both distracted by a small crowd growing excitedly around a massive man standing Caradoc in the square. What's happening? I ask a puzzled-looking Julius. I have no idea, Julius replies. We both watch as Caradoc produces a strange object from a case. He looks up to the sky as if searching for something. He stops and smiles. The crowd grows ever more excited as he puts the object to his eye and holds it there for several minutes as a hush comes over the crowd. Finally, Caradoc says, "The gods have spoken to us from the sky. Tonight they wish to dine. The crowd lets out a loud and boisterous cheer and pats Caradoc on the back, who struts around with a massive smile on his face. I look at Julius, who in turn looks at me, and from his eyes, I can tell he is as confused and frightened as me.
Chapter 40. Julius. This place gets stranger, and our fate ever further from our control by the minute. As the light begins its long fade, I watch the village grow ever more frantic in preparation for something not even the villagers are willing to explain. The children have donned strange outfits. The boys strut around proudly in aminal-like outfits, while suddenly giving chase to the young girls grouped together, dressed in purple with flowers stitched into their dresses. I watch in disbelief as some of the men nail bits of dead animals to the posts and fences around the square. Bloodied heads, hooves, and tails swing in the evening wind. And the women, huddled in a group, seem busy at work, making something I cannot see, the older ones barking orders that the younger women obey without question. The old drunk man from earlier is now even drunker, and has been joined by other drunk old men who've attached large wooden cocks around their hips, and seem to take great delight in scaring passers-by with them. If this were a dream, I'd seek the advice of a doctor. For sure I would have lost my mind. If only I had my magic, my glory restored. I'd wipe this village off the map and carry Savannah far away from harm. I must stay focused on that. Wherever this nightmare leads us, I must prevail. I turn to Savannah, who has chosen to avert her eyes from the frightful scene unfolding around us. I think the old men with their wooden cocks were quite the limit for her. "How are you, my dear?" I ask her. She turns her head slowly to me. "I feel strange, Julius." "My poor dear Savannah. I promise you no harm will come to you," I reassure her. "Julius," Savannah whispers from her captivity. Her voice is shaky and filled with fear. "These people, they did something to me in the spring. I'd been worried about that, my dear, but I didn't want to press you. What did they do?" I ask, glancing back at the square to ensure no one is listening. "They stripped me naked," she says softly, her cheeks flushing with embarrassment. "They bathed me in the spring water, like some sort of purification. They sang this odd song, and I felt myself somewhat becoming changed, like something has grown inside of me. My heart thuds in my chest, and I struggle to keep my expression neutral. I'm appalled by what she's telling me, but I can't deny the arousal that stirs within me at the thought of a wet, naked Savannah, no matter how out of place the thoughts are at the current moment. "Did they hurt you?" I ask, my voice thick with concern. "No, it was pleasant, yet not if I am making any sense. I don't understand. None of this is making any sense," she admits, bursting into tears. "My heart aches that I am powerless in this cage. I feel hurt and rage, yet I need to appear steady for Savannah. Whatever this is, we'll face it together," I assure her, reaching through the bars to try and clasp her hand, but it falls short. "We'll find a way out of this. We make a great team, you and I." "That we do," she murmurs, a streak of hope entering her forlorn gaze. I blow her a kiss, and she returns one to me. Our little moment is, of course, broken by the sound of a human voice. "Julius, you need to come with us," Gatto says as he appears at my cage with Taryn. "May I ask why? Oh wait, let me guess. All will be revealed?" I say sarcastically. Savannah's voice trembles as she cries out, "Please don't take him." "It's okay, Savannah. I'll return to you as I always have," I tell her. Taryn approaches the cage and just as he's about to open it says, "No funny business now." "I wouldn't dream of even trying to outshine you lot in that department," I say with a pleasant smile. I step proudly out of my cage, careful not to show anything but strength to both my captors and Savannah. I walk with dignity through the village with Taryn and Gatto on each side. The villagers watch in silence as I pass by them. Some children turn their faces away in fear of the frightening dark elf uncaged. Some of the womenfolk eye me with thinly veiled desire, and I contemplate reacting to their attentions, but decide against it. Better not to antagonize the men around me, who clearly fall short in more departments than just intelligence. We continue to walk, and now seems a good time to ask a question that has been on my mind. There's something I've been meaning to ask you, if you don't mind, Gatto. We have no secrets here, Gatto says, to which I immediately can't help but let out a huge belly laugh. Careful, elf, Taran barks. Yes. Well, I have been meaning to ask about those scars on your faces. All the menfolk seem to have them, I say, careful to keep my tone conversational. He stops, so I stop, which means Taran stops as well. They both look at each other. We don't talk about that, Gatto says and starts walking again, as does Taran, so I do as well. So it's a secret? I ask. Gatto suddenly turns on me. For a human I know as calm, it is quite disconcerting. We can't remember, he hisses into my face. Leave it, Gatto. Taran immediately cuts in, pulling Gatto from my face. Well, that was rather telling. I raise an eyebrow and continue my strut through the village. We arrive at an old wood shed, its dark entrance looming ominously before me. Taran and Gatto guide me inside, the door slamming shut behind us. Strip him, Taran orders, his voice cold and emotionless. Gatto yanks my clothing from my body, leaving me exposed and vulnerable. I clench my fists, humiliated and enraged by their rough treatment. Paint him, Taran says, producing a large clay pot filled with a strange brown liquid. The smell is putrid, assaulting my nostrils as they paint it onto my skin. It feels cold and slimy against my flesh, heightening my discomfort. The smell is too much, and I heave. You'll get used to it soon enough, Taran tells me, pushing the brush against my skin with such force he leaves little cuts that sting as the liquid seeps into them. Cover your cock, Gatto mutters, tossing a small sackcloth at me. That'll disappoint the ladies, I say. They get their fill, Taran replies. I snort, but pick up the sackcloth and use it to cover my groin. I wonder what they would say if they could see me now in Orthani. It does not bear thinking about. Taran walks to a large sack in the corner and reaches inside. Dear God, what next? Taran smirks as he pulls a large pair of antlers from the sack, approaches me and places them on my head. The weight is heavy and uncomfortable. A fine sight to behold, Gatto says as both look at me with the satisfaction at a job well done. I must look ridiculous. Off we go, Gatto states as Taran leads me back out the door. I notice some children spying from behind one of the fences. However, they do not snigger but look at me as something different from the dark elf that entered. As I walk, the other villagers turn their heads from me. Even the old drunk men lower their wooden cocks and bury their faces in their clay tankards. Julius, what have they done to you? Savannah gasps as we reach the cage. Her eyes fill with horror as they dart between me and the crowd around us, clearly trying to make sense of the purpose behind such showmanship. I haven't a clue either, my dear, I respond, trying to keep my voice even despite my own growing confusion and fear. A drumbeat fills the village, slow and steady. It summons the villagers as they gather in the square around us. Then, from what appears to be nowhere, Bernard stands in bright green robes, his face painted oak brown, his lips red like blood. In his hand he holds a mighty staff. My heart now beats to the sound of the drum. I feel weak and unsteady, as if I am no longer in control. Then Bernard slams his staff into the ground. The drum beat stops. Bring the chosen! He calls out, and Taran does as bid, and fetches a terrified Savannah from her cage. Join hands, Bernard commands. Savannah moves slowly toward me and reaches out her hand for mine. I take it and feel hers trembling in mine as I pull her close. Around us, the villagers begin to chant, their voices rising and falling like the tide of some ancient and terrible sea. Bernard raises his staff high in the air, and the drum beat begins again, signaling the path to our unknown fate.